Indiana's star wide receiver, Elijah Surratt, is an underrated playmaker for the 2026 NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damen Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. And as always, guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, guys. I'm talking about some playmakers. We're going to discuss wide receivers that are under the radar that you need to know about. Elijah Surratt from Indiana. He's their best playmaker, but an underrated playmaker. Caleb Douglas over at Texas Tech, and Coy Eakin at Texas Tech. Two big, physical, but really good wide receivers that should take a next step going into 2025. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Elijah Surratt, 6'2", 210 pounds, a young man that has been productive throughout his college football career. Started at St. Francis with over 670 yards and 13 receiving touchdowns. In 2023, transferred to James Madison, caught 82 passes for almost 1,200 yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. And then 2024, he transferred and moved up. He's moved up a level every single year. And I love that confidence to believe that he is that good and he should be able to acclimate himself accordingly. Moved up to Indiana in the Big Ten, 53 receptions, 957 yards receiving, 8 receiving touchdowns, and he averaged over 18 yards per reception. Elijah Surratt, again, he's 6'2", 210 pounds listed as. This is a physical playmaker. He's physical. He's very detailed and nuanced. You're talking about a guy that knows how to use his footwork to push defensive backs upfield. He's really good in those sight adjustment routes. Okay, adjust your route based off of what you see and the depth of the defender. Hey, they might be lined up in man, but it's actually zone, and that guy's bailing out. That guy's dropping to his landmark. You know to cut it short, sit, and be available for your quarterback. He can make plays after he gets the ball in his hands and everything. So he works those in breakers, like those middle of the field routes very well, the slants, the crossers, the over routes, the in breaker, the dig. He runs those routes well, and he's so comfortable being the glue guy in that situation, right? So every offense, similar to the glue guys always like talk about in basketball, but every receiving core needs a glue guy. You need that physical, that strong, well-built and well-proportioned receiver who's not afraid of the dirty work in the middle of the field, right? You look at the Los Angeles Rams, Puka Nacua is everything for them. He's won vertically. He wins the short and intermediate stuff, but he's the glue guy. He does the dirty work for Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. Elijah Surratt does very similar things in that realm, where once he gets the ball in his hands, he has kind of a running back type of mentality. There's a play against UCLA. He's pressing vertical. The DB bails out, doesn't read it well, keeps drifting upfield. Surratt sits down on the nice little curl route, stop route, catches the ball, and then he just trucks the corner, just lowers his shoulder and just trucks the corner. And it's like, yeah, you don't see a lot of receivers playing with that level of physicality in the red zone. Let me look at some of the numbers here, guys, just from a contested catch standpoint. What I really appreciate about his game, he converted 59% of his contested catch targets into receptions. Targeted 27 times. He caught 16 of them. Okay, caught 16 of them. This is a guy that can also work in the red zone. I know, again, Mina Kimes, I love Mina. Mina hates the fade, right? But you think about being to isolate that your guy. Hey, go 3-by-1. You get that one-on-one. You pull that safety, whatever. And if they dare leave him one-on-one, this is the guy that can make plays at the catch point. He tracks the ball extremely well. He's got very strong hands and everything. And again, when it comes down from a right route running standpoint, at the top of his route, he does a good job snapping, breaking, and causing and creating separation. So for me, Elijah Surratt is an underrated potential wide receiver 1 for an offense. And think about the fact that he's getting Fernando Mendoza, my QB1 right now. The guy in terms of just accuracy, ball placement, arm talent. Like, he has all that whole combination, and he's a functional athlete, a guy that can use his legs when he needs to, but that can dot every I and cross every T. And he's moving up moving up in a level of competition, going to the Big Ten, where they play defense in the Big Ten. So Fernando Mendoza, what better way to get you acclimated than being able to pepper Elijah Surratt with targets? Because he's also a guy you can throw the back shoulder fade to, you can throw a jump ball to, and he goes up over the defensive backs. He is a dog. If I've seen one, guys, I'm telling you, I am so excited to see that combination of quarterback and receiver, Fernando Mendoza and Elijah Surratt at Indiana this year. I'm looking forward to it. The one thing I would like to see Surratt clean up a little bit. He only had 4 drops, but it was against the back stretch of his season, right? So week 10, Michigan State, he had a drop. Week 11, Michigan, drop. Week 13, Ohio State, drop. Week 14, Purdue, drop. He lit Purdue up, by the way. 11 targets, 8 catches, 165, and 2 tutties, right? He lit them up. But again, being a guy that 18 yards per catch, like, that's big time stuff, being able to stretch the field and make those type of plays when he's targeted. Let's talk about it here. Got some more numbers here. Let's dive a little deeper. On passes, 20-plus air yards down the field, 19 targets, 12 receptions, 419 yards, 35 yards per, 5 touchdowns, only 1 drop. He also, on those deep throws, 9 contested targets, 5 contested receptions. So this is a guy he's a 3-level threat, a 3-level player that's going to make plays for you all over the field. You can put him as the X, you can put him as the Z, you can reduce him down as the X in a reduce, or what we call a nasty split, nasty alignment, where he's like inside the numbers, but he's not directly tight. He's not like on the hip of the tight end or tackle, whoever's the last man on the line of scrimmage, but it gives him a 2-way go while also being the outside wide receiver. So again, when you talk about what Elijah Surratt brought to this offense last year, and I think, you guys, hey, for all my everydayers, and I said this before, if you're not an everydayer, what's the problem here? Let's talk about it. If you're not an everydayer, go ahead and become one right now. But for my everydayers, I really liked Curtis Rourke last year, and the guy he's an Iron Man warrior, played on the partially torn ACL pretty much all season. But Fernando Mendoza is a much better quarterback than he is, offers much more upside and everything else. So Surratt, 53 receptions, 957 yards receiving, 8 receiving touchdowns, over, like around 18.1, so 18 yards per catch. And he was just so reliable when the ball is in the air, so reliable down the field. Okay. Listen, as a receiver, you're taught to use feet first, hands second against press coverage or press alignment, things like that. He does a good job with his footwork. His stem work is good. I think for him, it's just constantly just upgrading that. And I think the next level or next step for him is to be utterly dominant all season. So 957-8 is good. 13-12 is better. It's what puts you in the creme de la creme. It's what puts you in a position to where no one can question you, because you have the skill set, you have the talent, and your numbers display how dominant of a receiver you are. Right? That's what I want to see from him. So I'm not calling him Puka Nacua, but there are a lot of similarities with him and Puka. Truthfully, guys, honest to God, there's a lot of similarities with him and Puka. And I think he might be a better athlete to win the vertical plane than Puka was coming out of BYU. Okay, so listen, underrated pass catcher and playmaker Elijah Surratt over at Indiana with those Hoosiers. But guys, coming up next, I'm going to Texas Tech. I'm going to talk about one of their two receivers on the show, Caleb Douglas, 6'4", 205 pounds. And I'm going to give you a comp for him, and I think you're going to like it. Coming up next. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougit Ready. Rougit Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougit's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is just right. Head to Rougit.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing reviewing. Please visit the Rougit website for full safety information. Texas Tech's top wide receiver from last year, or returning receiver in terms of yards and everything else, Caleb Douglas, 6'4", 210 pounds. This is a receiver that reminds me quite a bit of Adonai Mitchell, who's with the Indianapolis Colts, who played at Alabama and then transferred to Texas. Again, 6'4", 210 pounds. Caleb Douglas from Texas Tech on the season last year, 59 receptions, 884 yards receiving, and 6 receiving touchdowns. He averaged 15 yards per catch. This is a guy that lines about wide most of the time, but he can give you some slot stuff as well. He gives you ability to make plays after the catch. He can take the top off the defense. And this is another guy similar to Surratt. He brings you that capability of being a 3-level threat. And one thing I wrote down and I really appreciate with Caleb's game was the tempo, the changes, the alterations, the changing of speeds, some dilation of speeds. He knows how to go from fast to slow to fast again. He decelerates, he recelerates, accelerate, right? He does those things well. Again, tall wide receiver that has the ability to play that X role, that F or slot role, but also the Z role. A guy that when you talk about at the line of scrimmage, he can be quick and very sudden for a tall, leggy receiver. And it's almost, it reminds me somewhat as well as think back to this past draft, Jaden Higgins. I feel like I don't think his hips don't seem as tight to me in rotationally and everything, but being able to sink his hips, drive out of his breaks, he locates and identifies soft spots and zones in the red zone. If you put the ball up and he's got front position, right? It's like basketball. You got your center or your power forward in the paint, and the guys on their back, they can't get in the front, they can't front them, but you can throw it up and they can go up and high point it. He does those exact same type of thing. There was a touchdown, might have been, was it Baylor? I think it would have been Baylor, where they ran a kind of a wildcat with Jalen Conyers, the tight end from last year, a wildcat where he was a wildcat quarterback and former high school quarterback. And they ran a little slow developing play, and he broke out, beat the corner to the corner pylon, right at the goal line, and Conyers put it out there. And my guy, Douglas, went up and got it. So and he tracks the ball well. He's got good catch radius and everything. Like I said, red zone target. And I think there's still some more upside for him as a route runner, right? For a taller linear receiver, right? His start is pretty good. Like he sells double moves and things of that nature very well. And he'll catch guys off guard because he starts, once he has momentum, he stops and starts very well to where it's sudden and he's got some twitch and explosiveness to it, to where if he pushes upfield vertically and you stop your feet, he can stack you, right? He had some moments again. He beat Takario Davis, who was the starting and star corner at Arizona. He's 6'4", right? Tall, physical, long-limbed corner, and he beat him down the sideline on a go ball, right? And one thing that I really like about him too is he's not, again, he's listed at 6'4", 210 pounds. Caleb Douglas is out of Texas Tech. But what I appreciate with Caleb is that even though it says he's 210 pounds, he might be closer to 200, 205. Again, his body type does remind me a lot of Adonai. I don't remember if Adonai Mitchell is 6'4". I cannot remember that for some reason. He might be. He might. I'm looking it up right now. He might be 6'4". He's 6'2". Sorry, 6'2". So Adonai Mitchell being 6'2". So yeah, of course, like Caleb, if he's a legitimate 6'4", which he looks like, he's taller, right? But body type is similar. Even some of the movement patterns as a route runner, things of that nature, finesse with his footwork and just very deliberate with his steps. And when you see him against physical corners down the field, he fights through contact so well. So it's like, you know, at your jersey, you know, all that type of stuff to keep you from separating vertically on them. When, because that old phrase, if he's even, he's leaving. And typically if a guy's faster than you, you see guys panic and they grab down the field in man coverage, or just in general. If they're still within phase, before, and they feel like they're about to get out of phase, they're going to grab. They're going to grab that receiver, and he does a good job fighting through that contact, knocking the hand down, clubbing at the hand, ripping at the hand. And then also, okay, if you grab, so you pull, I'm going to give you a push. I'm going to give you a chicken wing, and the rest let it ride, because you should. If the DB initiates that contact and he's grabbing, but you don't want to throw a flag there, let them both play physical. It's a vice versa. If the receiver wants to push off and that DB wants to grab, let it play. It's a dead play to me. Listen, whatever happens, happens. And he does a good job being able to fight through that contact. So when I look at Caleb Douglas, I think, you know, they had Josh Kelly, who transferred from Washington State, you know, and everything. He was their leading receivers. They had Jalen Conyers and whatnot. Taj Brooks was the running back, so they told it to rock with him. They fed him the rock a lot. This year, it's Caleb Douglas and the guy I'm going to talk about next, Coy Eakin, and everything. Those are the two top targets there, and those are two guys, in my opinion, in this offense with Baron Morton, I think it's Baron Morton, the quarterback. I truly believe those two targets, those two big receivers, should absolutely see 90 to 100 targets easily this year, because they should be the guys that you feed game in and game out. So when I look at Caleb Douglas, I see a receiver with upside. I see a receiver that can play a legitimate role for an offense. I would have like a day 2 grade on them if I was grading them off everything. I think there's just another level. I want to see him improve the run blocking. Again, he's linear. He's a little thin, little wiry at 6'4". Even though he plays well fighting through that contact, some of the contested catches, I feel like if he's a little bit stronger, a little bit more muscle mass to his frame, he could reel them in and bring those in. But, you know, he and then in terms of drops, let me just double check here. I don't think he had. Did he have any drops last year? He had 3. He had 3 drops last year, right? And that's the contested catch for context. For context, 19 targets, 6 receptions, a 31.6 contested catch percentage. You got to improve that. At 6'4", you got to improve that and become a little bit more dominant at the catch point, right? He can high point, he can jump, he's athletic. I want to see him it's not just mossing guys, but bully ball guys at the catch point and show them that those 50-50 throws are more 80-20, and you're the 80, they're the 20. But coming up next, I'm staying in Texas Tech to talk about Coy Eakin, a 6'2", 210-pound wide receiver that reminds me of Mohamed Sanu from the Atlanta Falcons all those years ago. So we're going to talk about Coy Eakin coming up next. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to the ballpark, to a ball game with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch. and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. 6'2", 210-pound wide receiver who's going to be the running mate to the guy I just talked about, Caleb Douglas at Texas Tech, Coy Eakin. And this young man, both of these young men impressed me, guys, when I watched the film. When I watched the film and took down notes, both of them impressed me. Coy Eakin last year, remember, there was a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. They were one of the better and more high-powered offenses in the Big 12 last year. Coy Eakin, 49 receptions, 652 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns. And for me, this is a guy that does, and I said it at the end of the second topic, he gives me some Mohamed Sanu vibes, right? He gives me some Mohamed Sanu vibes where you got a strong, dense frame. He's really good on the back shoulder fades. A guy that tracks the ball well, whether it's high or low. He catches. He's got good hands. He catches the ball, but it's the physicality as a route runner. Again, similar to Surratt, doing the dirty work in the middle of the field. Doesn't mind shrugging off tacklers and fighting through contact to get yards after the catch. I believe last year he averaged 5.7 yards after the catch, so almost half of a first down, or a little over half of a first down. So you're talking about, okay, he catches a 5-yard in breaker, he gets 5.7 or 5.5 first down. Okay, so instead of 2nd and 5, it's 1st and 10. That's the context that we look for in that situation. On contested catches, 18 targets, 8 receptions, 44.4% contested catch rate. So he is close to the 45%, so he does a good job on those contested catches. He high points the ball. He will literally jump over a defender that's in front of him that does front him, like in the post, as I talked about with Kate. Like, if you do front him, you get front position, he will still climb over your back and still take the ball from you. There was a play, I think it might have, I don't know if it was in the actual high school game or one of the all-star games, but I was watching, and I think the quarterback threw a pick, and the DB went to return it, and out of nowhere, Coy Eakin runs up, snatches the ball from him, like runs up to make contact and make the tackle, but instead of making the tackle, he just rips the ball from him and then takes it. I believe he scores a touchdown, right? Because they were in the high red zone when it happened. Like, they were at the 35, somewhere in there. So his effort, his motor, his desire, he's another dog, another guy that wants to. He's a blue collar type of guy out of Texas, and I think this is an opportunity, man. I believe he's a junior this year. Both of these guys, I think, are juniors in terms of Caleb Douglas and no, I think Caleb Douglas is actually a senior. Coy is going to be the junior. So yeah, when you look at what he's able to do, 2023 he went 416 yards, 2 touchdowns. In 2024, 652, 7 touchdowns. I think 2025 is going to be the year that Coy Eakin takes another step, and we're looking at an 1,100-yard receiver, 10-plus touchdowns. I truly believe that. It should be him and Caleb Douglas leading this offense and this passing attack, to be completely honest. So, yeah, man, I think this is Mohamed Sanu. I think about Ruben Randall, that was with the Giants, with Eli Manning. Just those strong physical build receivers that were great with the ball in the air, physical at the catch point, physical after the catch, but then also, like, he runs routes. And I think even that part can improve. I do want to see him just kind of reel in the passes, like got some concentration drops. He was kind of for 6 drops last year with a drop percentage of 11%. You gotta improve that, right? Got to improve that. His average depth of target is 11.5. So he's getting down the field past the first down, right, on a consistent basis, average almost every single route, right? So every single play, so I just look at him and I say, all right. And this is a guy also that will play. He played on the outside predominantly, that X and Z spot, but he also will go and walk down or reduce down into the slot. And that's where you get the real value of him being a power slot too, right? You get in a matchup. I remember he ran I think it was a post corner on the safety, and the salesmanship was there, right? Quarterback didn't throw it. He had it. He got into the spot and it was there, right? These guys, all three of these guys, Elijah Surratt, Caleb Douglas, and Coy Eakin, all have something in common. They know how to find soft spots. They know how to make themselves available, and that's how you earn the trust of your quarterback, and that's what you need to do at the next level. And you're facing you intellectually and from a mental standpoint, if you're dealing with cover 2, if you're dealing with cover 4, can you run your route into the void? Can you find the void? That's a big thing in the NFL, man. That's a big thing about playing receiver, because you need to be on the same page as your quarterback. So when I look at Coy Eakin, like I said, Ruben Randall, Mohamed Sanu, I don't think he's got the arm and the quarterbacking of Mohamed Sanu, but nonetheless, man, I'm excited to see Texas Tech's offense should take another big leap this year. Quarterbacks returning, both young receivers are returning, 2 guys that played well last year that honestly should get more and more targets in 2025. But guys, that's the show. Went down to, was it Lubbock, Texas for Texas Tech? I think it's Lubbock. Let's go with that. Went down to Texas Tech, talked about Coy Eakin and Caleb Douglas, the 2 budding star tandem that I think should have big time years in 2025. And then Elijah Surratt, under the best playmaker, the best player at Indiana, but an underrated playmaker and the potential wide receiver 1 caliber guy. Listen, I'm telling you, get eyes on all 3 of these young men. Can't wait till the college football season starts, because I think all 3 are in for big time seasons, guys. And listen, go subscribe and follow for free wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On Monday, Keith will be back, and we're going to be talking about Peter Woods, man, the dominant defensive lineman from Clemson. Just another one of those 5-star, soon-to-be top 10 picks in the 2026 NFL draft. Scouts love him. We love him too. And we're going to tell you about that on Monday's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.